Hey, good morning, friends. Today is Monday, June the 9th, 2025, and the time now is 7:34 a.m. So, friends, I want to talk briefly about Niger, the West African country of Niger, and I want to talk specifically about two things. One being the recent crisis between Niger and Algeria. And friends, this is specifically relating to the fact that many Sub-Saharan migrants were expelled from Algeria, the North African country. And of the number of people that were expelled, which is about 7,000 or so, it is said that a very large majority of them, or a large amount of the people, were from Niger. Now, friends, the second topic relates to the fact that the International Committee of the Red Cross, the ICRC, was ordered to cease operation. This relates to the fact that the ICRC is being accused to not only being in cahoot with Al Qaeda, okay, Islamic terrorists that have been plaguing the country for so long, but that the ICRC had supported the terrorist group. Now, friends, the ICRC has denied the allegation that it has been in cahoot or has engaged in any wrongdoing, in this case, supporting terrorist groups in Niger. Now, friends, often when people talk, especially in the West, about what is happening in Africa or in the Sahel region of West Africa, whether in Western media, conventional media, or on social media, people often talk about the destabilization, the terrorism, and this and that. But many times they are failing to consider the fact that, or to accept the fact that the situation in the Sahel right now is a direct consequence of NATO, led by the United States, France, the United Kingdom, in terms of their willingness and their activity to destabilize Libya, to kill, to murder Muammar Gaddafi. That, it is said, that has led to terrorism basically spilling over into the Sahel region. Now, my friends, Niger, like Mali and Burkina Faso and other Sahel region nations, have been dealing with the issue of terrorism for the past decade now, or at least since 2011. In terms of Niger, let's go back to the two topics that I want to talk briefly about. The first one, which relates to the fact that refugees are being expelled from Algeria. Now, to this, I think it is a very sad thing, a very sad reality that Africans, black Africans, have been facing. Many times when black Africans are going into North Africa, they are ill treated. And it is said that not only this is racism, but the fact that North Africa is oftentimes in cahoot with Europe. They've had an agreement with Europe basically to prevent the influx of black Africans into Europe through North Africa. In addition to that, North Africa also does have its racial, ethnic, or economic tendency disparities, okay, or ill treatment beliefs about black Africans, Sub-Saharan Africans. At a time when many Africans are calling for Pan-Africanism to take shape, to take hold of the continent, you have situations like this where North Africans, Arab countries are expelling or they're preventing black Sub-Saharan Africans from going into their countries or through their countries. With this being the case, it is very interesting and it makes sense when many Africans, especially black Africans, Sub-Saharan Africans, speak about the fact that Pan-Africanism could possibly be a black African only thing. That many do believe that as much as North Africa may talk about Pan-Africanism, that many in North Africa and many of these governments and countries do not believe in Pan-Africanism. And there are cases where many Africans will say that in many cases, North African countries and government will only claim Africa, okay, or Pan-Africanism when it suits their politics or it suits making themselves look good in the eyes of the rest of Africa and trying to beef up support from the rest of Black Africa for their issues with the West or wherever. Now, friends, please tell me what you think. But it is very sad knowing that in many cases, Black Africans, Sub-Saharan Africans, are either ill-treated or prevented from going into North Africa or through North Africa, or that they are being expelled. In addition to just the expulsion of Black Africans, we know that the Sahel states, to an extent, they've had situation with North Africa. And we hope that this can be sorted out in the near or in the far future. Now, friends, in terms of the situation between the government of Niger and the ICRC, the International Committee of the Red Cross, perhaps the government of Niger is overreacting. However, it does seem that they do have a credible reason for doing so. Because in many cases, the non-governmental organization, NGO, and Western institutions that are operating in Africa, despite the fact that they may claim to be in Africa for environmental or for humanitarian causes, they oftentimes engage in illegalities, okay, or engage in wrong behaviors that basically target these governments. And we've seen that throughout Africa where Western institutions that claim to be NGOs or financial or economic institutions or social institutions, even religious institutions, were oftentimes in cahoot with their Western backers, their Western government. And these institutions are used to infiltrate the various governmental systems in Africa, breaking them apart. So in this case, as much as it is possible and credible that the government of Niger could be overreacting, I do believe that it is also plausible and sensible that they actually halted or ordered the ICRC, the International Committee of the Red Cross, to cease operation in Niger. In this case, friends, what the government of Niger has to do is to launch a free and a fair investigation of the ICRC to ensure to clear the organization's name that it is not engaging in any illegalities against the government of Niger or against the country of Niger. And in this case, if it is certain, if it is determined that the ICRC has not engaged in any illegalities, have not been in cahoot with terrorist organizations in Niger, that the organization's operation should be reinstated. It is fair in this case. However, I won't blame Niger, I won't blame Burkina Faso or Mali or any African government expelling Western institutions or any international institutions or basically ordering a cancellation or a cease of their operation. And in this case, launching an investigation on these institutions, these foreign institutions. This is because we as Africans should not just trust foreign institutions, especially given that these institutions are often backed by their government and they are used by their government to infiltrate African system or to use them as a means to discredit, to manipulate, or to undermine African governments and African systems. Now, friends, please tell me what you think, and I really want to know what you think. But friends, I am going to end here. I want to thank you for being a member of the Echoing Voice community, my friends, but most especially and most importantly, or most important, friends, I want to thank you a lot for watching the Echoing Voice. Peace, my friends. Peace.